July 12, 1943, near Prokhorovka in Ukraine. A single Soviet tank, completely immobilized, held off an entire SS Panzer division for nearly 3 hours. It wasn't luck. Sergeant Ivan Kovalyov knew exactly how to use that German arrogance against them. Nazi soldiers saw what looked like a harmless, broken-down T-34, and they laughed. Within minutes, that same tank started destroying their brand-new Panthers. This was the heart of World War II's deadliest tank battle. The Battle of Kursk was everything. Hitler gambled everything on Operation Citadel, sending 50 German divisions crashing into Soviet lines south of Moscow. He wanted to cut Soviet supply lines and take back momentum. But Stalin's generals saw it coming. They hid over 1 million men and 3,600 tanks behind layered defenses. When the Germans attacked on July 5th, they drove right into a nightmare of mines and artillery. For 9 brutal days, the German advance ground to a halt. Then came July 12th, the day everything changed. Just after dawn at Prokhorovka, history's biggest tank battle exploded. The Soviets counterattacked desperately with 430 tanks from the 5th Guards Tank Army charging forward in chaotic waves. Among them was Sergeant Kovalyov, a farmer's son drafted just 2 years earlier. Climbing onto his T-34 nicknamed Steel Bear, he led 3 other tanks toward Hill 252.2, held by Hitler's elite SS troops, the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler Division. These weren't regular soldiers. They were fanatical political fighters personally chosen for the Führer's Guard, riding brand-new Panther tanks. At 9:05 a.m., disaster hit Kovalyov's tank. A German shell smashed its drive sprocket. The lurched and died, trapped in a shallow ravine. German reconnaissance logs show their immediate reaction, pure contempt. They dismissed it as just another Soviet decoy tank, so they did something crazy. They advanced straight toward it. Panzer Grenadier Ernst Schmidt described this later, saying his unit saw the Ruski tank stop moving and start laughing. It was so close I could see the white skulls on their hats. Then the gun fired again. Think about that. Elite SS troops, closing to less than 200 meters, throwing insults, waving, even trying to throw grenades at what they thought was scrap metal. But inside that steel coffin, Kovalyov was barking orders. Load heat, prime the gun. This wasn't luck. It was brilliant engineering disguised as a death sentence. Kovalyov's T-34 model had 3 key advantages. Its low height made it practically invisible in the grassy ravine. Its sloped armor deflected shots that would have crushed thicker flat plates. But the real lifesaver was inside, wet ammo storage. Unlike German tanks where shells sat dry, making one hit cause a catastrophic explosion, the T-34's rounds were submerged in water. Soviet technical tests later proved this saved Kovalyov's crew when the hits started coming. At 10:02 a.m., the taunting ended. A deadly new Panther tank rolled within 300 meters, its big guns swinging toward the broken T-34. Kovalyov's gunner fired. The shell slammed into the Panther's thinner side armor. Instantly, it erupted in flames. Confusion spread through the SS ranks. Minutes later, another Panther advanced cautiously. Again, the roared to life. Direct hit jammed its turret, trapping the crew inside. By 10:45 a.m., the Germans retreated in disarray. What followed for the next 75 minutes was pure tactical horror for the SS division. As Kovalyov ran low on ammunition, German panic worked to his advantage. Their troops wildly misreported, a dozen tanks hidden in the ravine after losing the second Panther, a critical blunder that froze their advance. At 11:20 a.m., Kovalyov's crew scored 3 more kills, 2 Panzer IVs and another Panther, all within 400 meters. Soviet combat logs and German repair records confirm each hit. By 11:58 a.m., with only 3 shells left, Kovalyov ordered his crew out. They walked 500 meters through artillery fire to friendly lines, unharmed despite surviving 12 direct hits. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a fight over one tank. Kovalyov's actions stalled a critical German flank assault aimed straight at Prokhorovka. Historian Valery Zamulin proved this later by checking both German and Soviet archives. While Soviet tank losses in the wider battle were devastating, nearly 60% destroyed, Kovalyov bought vital hours for reinforcements. Without that delay, the SS might have taken the hill. Instead, their advance collapsed, killing Hitler's entire Kursk offensive. Soviet propaganda later exaggerated the story, claiming Kovalyov destroyed 7 tanks instead of the confirmed 5. Some versions even misplaced his tank in open fields, not the protective ravine. That famous quote where he supposedly said, "While the gun turns, we fight. Steel lives longer than flesh." It captures the spirit of what he told reporters right after, though the exact words might differ in translation. And yes, it really took 2 hours and 55 minutes, verified by Soviet combat logs, as German troops lingered, mocking the tank they thought was dead. German tank manuals taught them to value mobility over hiding, so stationary tanks seemed vulnerable. Kovalyov brilliantly weaponized that false belief. The laughter was real enough. While no German archive says troops literally laughing, multiple sources confirm their mocking behavior. Elite units often dehumanize enemies before battle, and the Leibstandarte, steeped in Nazi ideology, saw a crippled Soviet tank as easy prey. They'd seen T-34s fail before. What they didn't grasp was why this tank survived. Soviet factories weren't chasing fancy tanks like Germany's complex Panthers. They built the T-34 for mass production and battlefield toughness. When shells hit Kovalyov's tank, the water in those ammo lockers doused sparks before they reached the explosives. That's why all 4 crew lived through 12 penetrations, something nearly impossible in German tanks. This matters because pop culture often portrays German Panthers as invincible, but German logs tell a different story. At Prokhorovka, nearly half their Panthers broke down before firing a shot. Their narrow tracks sank in mud, and their engines caught fire easily. 3 of Kovalyov's kills were Panthers, abundant but fragile machines. His victory proved Soviet design smarts could out-engineer Hitler's obsession with technology. Kovalyov's heroism also existed within Stalin's brutal system. He only got his Hero of the Soviet Union medal months later due to bureaucratic chaos after his unit was temporarily disbanded. Archives show he faced suspicion for being briefly captured in 1941, needing special clearance first. His later life as a farm mechanic was ordinary. This wasn't a Hollywood story, it was raw human resilience forged in hell. The cost at Prokhorovka was staggering. By sunset, over 600 burning tanks littered the steppe. Kovalyov's own brigade lost 22 of 26 tanks. Yet Kursk became the Eastern Front's true turning point. After July 12, Hitler called off Operation Citadel. The Soviets never gave up the initiative again. Kovalyov's tank, though just one machine, showed why. By turning German overconfidence against them, Soviet hardware won when it counted most. Even today, this history is alive. Russia's defense ministry just unveiled a new T-34 monument at Hill 252.2, pinpointing Kovalyov's exact position using artillery logs. The Kursk Memorial Museum's new VR simulation lets you experience his sightlines and hear German shouts, all backed by real maps. But Russian authorities also banned far-right German groups from reenacting Prokhorovka to glorify the SS. Online, debunkers constantly fight false images claiming to show Kovalyov's tank. Why? Because the myth that Soviets only won through sheer numbers still lingers. Kovalyov's verified story demolishes that. His tank's survival was triumph of smart engineering, not just sacrifice. Think back to that ravine at 11:58 a.m. As Kovalyov's crew finally left their tank, they walked away from a machine that defied physics and ideology. German repair logs show the Leibstandarte spent days salvaging those shattered Panthers, their crews killed not by bigger guns, but by a broken tank that refused to die. For Nazi soldiers who laughed at Soviet steel, the lesson was brutal. Contempt is your first step toward defeat. No physical trace of Kovalyov's T-34 remains today. It was scrapped in 1946, but its legacy thrives. Modern tank doctrine still prioritizes hull-down positions, hiding the tank body while exposing only the turret, because Kovalyov proved even immobilized tanks could dominate. Israeli Merkavas in Gaza, Ukrainian T-64s fighting now, they all inherited this principle from that ravine. Steel really does live longer than flesh when engineered right. So why does this story endure? Not for the tank kills or German arrogance. It's the chilling plausibility. Kovalyov's crew survived because Soviets prioritized practical survival over theoretical perfection. In our age of hypersonic missiles and AI drones, their story reminds us, sometimes the most revolutionary tech isn't flashy, it's the simple wet locker stopping one spark from becoming an inferno. In 3 hours, that lone destroyed 5 enemy tanks, killed key crews, delayed a major assault, and saved his crew 0 casualties. Few single-vehicle actions changed history so decisively. Kovalyov didn't win Kursk alone, but by turning German laughter into panic, he exposed a fatal truth. When you underestimate your enemy's ingenuity, even broken armor becomes a weapon, and in the smoldering ruins of Prokhorovka, that weapon changed the world.